But people are prepared to forgive Winston for that. That's I know you're not, but a lot of New Zealanders out there, they have a real fondness for it. Because he talks about
New Zealanders,
yes, but he talks about
Alzheimer's, and then they're forgotten.
Yes.
So all is forgiven.
All is forgiven.
And
so
that's
it's back
why we
again.
need the media to get it right on the swine flu, on some sort of flu pandemic next year, to wipe Winston supporters out.
Thin out the numbers.
Absolutely.
He's the master of publicity. If the economy keeps going down and the issues that he's bringing up about don't let the foreigners buy up our
anti-foreigner.
land, if he has that economic
isn't he
thing,
descended from the Chinese?
well, apparently, or Italian, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it could
Economic nationalism.
Yeah, economic nationalism.
Well, all these things are rising at the moment, and Phil Goff and the Labour Party and David Cunliffe are about to join in and actually boost the argument from his point of view.
That's right.
Then there's this compulsory super thing lurking around.
Labour died in the ditch for Winston, remember? So they're prepared to die in the ditch for him again.
That's right.
Well, and standing against John Key, obviously, that's the fingers to the National Party.
Well, John Key will not have even lost a nanosecond of sleep thinking about Winston Peters standing against him in Helensville.
I think that's very optimistic. I think
we've got
optimistic.
a middle-aged guy, carpetbagger, standing in Helensville. We've got a pensioner carpetbagger standing in Helensville now.
To both of you, it's pretty clear Winnie will be back fighting the next election. Where do the votes come from? Do they come from Labour or do they come from National?
I can't see them coming from National.
What?
No, I can't.
How?
Well, because National's largely got rid of...
You gave up your membership. Well, why
you're not a member of the National Party anymore.
Yes,
you don't have to keep. You don't have
it's
to
going to hurt National
pimping
having
them.
Winston back. No, they come from Labour.
You think it's going to come from Labour?
All he needs, well, assuming some of them haven't died off, of course,
right,
is about
a
fraction of 1%, right? About 0.7%, to get over, right? That isn't actually that much.
It's not about Winston.
Some of them will come from
It's about his other
Nats.
candidates and other seats, and is Wanganui in play?
Oh God, Michael Laws.
Well, the mascaraed one.
Well,
might,
you think about it. Not
else.
standing for mayor. Lots of secrecy about what his plans are. If anyone can win a seat for New Zealand First, it isn't Winston, but it is Michael Laws.
Oh, Jesus Christ, no. Okay, who's going to win, who's going to lose in Helensville?
73%. I mean, it's got to be
He
John
might
Key.
go up.
How could it be? It's not a pensioner belt scenario. If it was, maybe it might be in play, but I don't think it is.
You think the people of Helensville might be quite excited and feel that they could feel just like Epsom does by having someone important.
Helensville people are the kind of people that might actually organise, a mob with pitchforks and run Winston out.
Thank you, panel. Coming up, Lady Macbeth or climate-denying clown boy, who will win the Australian election? Citizen A is back after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Citizen A. We're reviewing the week with bloggers Tim Selwyn and Cameron Slater. Issue 3 this week. The election has been a farce, with Labour refusing to allow media to know where they are going each day, and Tony Abbott refusing to front for debates. Does anyone deserve to win the Australian election? Tim, is Gillard the Lady Macbeth of the Labour Party, and will she remain leader after the election, even if she wins, or will the mining industry pick the next Australian Prime Minister?
Well, it would seem unimaginable that they would just toss out a PM that they had only just elected. But then again, you could say the same thing about Kevin Rudd, and how quickly he was dealt to. And the mining issue. That was it, wasn't it? That pushed the buttons when all's said and done. It's not. And okay, Kevin Rudd. It looked like in the last few weeks, like he didn't like the job. It was like a bit of a hassle for him. Yes. And he was a little bit peeved about it.
Well, no one likes
that. That's normally, isn't it?
and so, fine, here's someone who will do the job. And I think she's probably done a sterling job so far as her campaigning goes.
Yep.
But I don't know about Lady Macbeth exactly. I think, the mining interests are the ones to watch, because to us, I don't think it makes any sense. I mean, you're basically ramping up the royalties, more or less, on something that's supposedly, a national, resource. So to us, it doesn't make any sense at all.
If you have to explain it, you've lost it.
Cam, Abbott has a large red nose and wears large, funny-looking shoes. He's a climate-denying clown, right?
And
Australians don't really want to elect him. he didn't seem to like gay people. He didn't seem to understand his own internet connection policy either.
Well, he's a conservative Catholic who wears budgie smugglers.
Right.
Is there any
Why
other...
are they going to elect him? He's an idiot.
Well, because every time Julia Gillard opens her mouth, she puts people off. I mean, the last thing, the next thing we'll hear from her, and some last desperate gasp just before the election, will be the shrieking Australian accent of, "A dingo stole my election."
That's beautiful. So why the appeal for Tony Abbott? I mean,
Because he's the leader there. He's the one who's in charge. So he's the one who fronts the campaign. It's not
he's
about.
not very good, is he?
I don't think so. He's not a John Howard, is he?
Could,
At least John Howard was actually good at being a politician.
Yeah. But doesn't it show an incredible weakness that he was refusing to debate her at any? I mean, he refused to.
Well,
debate
he was
on the
probably
economy,
thinking of his
refused to-
ears at the time.
Right. Okay, so it was more personal.
I think a
issue
more
for his-
personal health issue
Right.
because Julia does have that sort of North Queensland wine.
Australia make the question to both of you. Australia make their money from China buying everything they can dig out of the ground. With a slowdown in China, when does the lucky country run out of economic luck, Tim?
Well, I suppose at the point where China runs, when their bubble
Right.
finally pops. I mean, they've got their whole export sector basically set up to supply China at the moment. They think, oh, well, that's all right, because then we'll supply India and then we'll supply Brazil or whatever, and it might not work out that way. And yeah, well, I mean, they got scared with the mining tax. But I mean, so much for the smart economy and all that stuff. It's still digging stuff out of the ground. That's all it is, isn't it, at the end of the day, for them.
They've got a lot of it, though. I mean, it takes a long time to drive around Australia. I know, I did it. It took me 19 days, non-stop, around Australia.
When does the economic magic finish?
The same as any country's economic magic finishes is when the customers stop buying your stuff.
And so, and you see slowdowns in China going on right now. What's the impact of that?
But do we see slowdowns happening in China? There might be small local slowdowns that's associated with particular areas of manufacturing, but they've got nearly 2 billion people there that keep needing to be fed and clothed and housed and all of those sorts of things. This is what people miss about China and India, those huge countries with more than 1 billion people, is that the internal economy of those places necessitates them continuing to buy despite what the external economy in the world is doing.
Question to you both. It looks like it may be a hung parliament in Australia. Could the Greens support anyone other than Labor, seeing Abbott as such a climate denier?
Well, I mean, you look at the Green voters themselves, and their preferences are all going to, or just about all going to Labor.
Right.
So, I mean, the grassroots of the Labor, of the Green movement will not support the coalition, I imagine, in any state. Well, I mean, there's Tasmania. I mean, there's interesting little cooperation agreements.
There's lots of inbreeding in Tasmania, though, remember?
There's lots of issues with Tasmania.
Plenty of issues. We'd have to have a show all just on Tasmania. The Greens can't support Abbott.
They never have and they never will.
Right, so it will be a Labor-Green coalition?
I can't see that lasting, personally.
Why?
Well, because the Greens are mad. They're madder than our ones.
They're beautiful people. They're militant over there, not like our soft ones over here.
You know, they believe scientists. I mean, can you believe...
Yeah, they believe scientists. How outrageous.
This is the outrageous thing about the Green movement, is that the world is coming to an end because we're all poisoning ourselves.
That's right,
and
absolutely.
the scientists say so.
That's right, exactly.
Now, if the scientists said anything else...
Yes.
They'd say, they're all part of the evil corporate structure.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, they are. That's right, they are. Exactly. Yeah, it's very simple. Tim, who is going to win? Who's going to lose in Australia? And what does it mean to New Zealand?
Well, I don't know if it's as marginal as you think with the Greens having to support them. I don't know how many seats the Greens are really going to win because they have this weird... It's not first past the post. No. It's crazy over
preferential voting.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a situation where they'll probably just... I imagine Labor will just pit. Because, I mean, it's Tony Abbott. Yeah. You know, the guy's a drongo, as they say.
Wasn't there a comedian group, Abbott and Costello? Is he just the Abbott part?
Who's going to win? Who's going to lose in Australia? What does it mean to New Zealand?
I actually think the Liberals will squeak through. The coalition will squeak through because Gillard is not liked. She's almost possibly hated more than Kevin Rudd, if you can imagine that. Kevin Rudd was deeply hated by his own caucus. That's the only plus for Gillard. But every time she opens her mouth, she's losing them votes. And as you said, running around and not telling the media where you were going, when they're the guys who are going to actually get you elected, not the sharpest crayon in the box, I think, but it's a choice of 2 blunt crayons.
Let's wrap the show with last word. Mr. Selwyn, your last word this week is?
Well, it's nominations closing tomorrow, and it's absolutely crazy. I read on the Radio New Zealand that hardly anyone's put their nominations in yet. They're all playing these games.
Yep.
And so there's huge speculation, because there's a lot of people like John Tamahiri's been mentioned,
Bradbury.
all sorts of crazy names have been mentioned. So it'll be fascinating tomorrow to see what comes out of the woodwork. Yeah.
Mr. Slater, your final word?
My final word is I'm in court next week. And,
Yes, over your suppression naughtiness.
Yes, over my suppression naughtiness, my alleged suppression naughtiness. Remember,
yes,
we're all
alleged,
innocent until proven guilty.
Of course you are.
And I've got to say, I think the prosecution's got a little bit of work to do there, and so I'm actually focusing on that a lot. But I still want our $158,000 back from Winston First.
They want your head on a silver platter, don't they?
Well, yes, they'll have to get out of their Zimmer frames to try and do that.
Thank you, Ms. Selwyn, Ms. Slater. Ladies and gentlemen, to my final word. Last week, TVNZ embarrassed themselves by giving Paula Bennett a propaganda platform to soften her public image by talking about loving little babies, rather than one single question from former National Party candidate Paul Henry about her welfare razor gang voodoo math, which is being used to justify forcing solo mothers, the mentally unwell, the crippled and the sick back to work in a 6.8% unemployment environment. I didn't think National Party spin on TVNZ could get more obvious or desperate, but I was wrong. On Tuesday, a disturbing story about a solo mother who was effectively starving due to the new cutbacks Paula has introduced appeared in the Herald. And in the wake of that story, Paula suddenly appears on Good Morning Yesterday with the audacity to show people how to cook cheap eats. It wasn't let them eat cake, it was let them eat leek and potato soup, which was extraordinary bad taste in the wake of the solo mother starving story, and just further proof of what an extension of the National Party TVNZ has sadly become. On next week's Citizen A, my invitation to Nikki Kay stands. In fact, any Auckland MP can contact us for a chance to appear on the show, including Winston Peters, because he might be a candidate. But failing that, Cameron will be back on with Selwyn Manning from scoop.co.nz. If you like tonight's show, please check out our Citizen A Facebook site. Thanks for watching, whānau. Good night, Aotearoa.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.